learn the technology. Be on top of it. Learn it. If you don't know it, dabble in it. Dip your toe in it. Just touch it. Look at it. Talk to other people that may know the technology, because that's the stuff that's going to continue no matter what.
Curt, I must tell you, I'm excited because I first heard your name by Jeff Porcaro in the mid to late 80s. And I had met Jeff in 1976.
Yeah.
And Jeff had nothing but the nicest things to say about what he felt from your playing. So to start there was pretty powerful. And when Jeff gave, any kind of a reference,
his blessing,
you knew you were committed to your craft. And that was very, very, really, really wonderful to hear. So I say to you, thanks for being here for the sessions. Where did it begin for you? Where did this whole thing begin for you?
Man, this whole
music and just how'd that enter you?
Man, well, my mother was a musician, and God bless her. When she was 8.5 months pregnant with me, she was playing in her jazz trio. She played B3 organ and piano.
Yeah.
I was in her stomach, and there she is playing B3, kicking pedals, with her trio. That's how it all started. And I'll fast forward to 7 years ago at NAMM show. I'm in the drum hall, and you know how loud it is at the drum hall in NAMM. And out of all that noise, I hear a B3 organ. And immediately, thumb goes in the mouth. I start walking toward the B3. And I peep around the corner, and it's Joey DeFrancesco.
Oh, Joey's
playing
fantastic.
his you-know-what off. And I'm just like, wow. And it just brought me back in that moment of thinking of my mom and just how not only a role model, but the importance that she played with my musical development. And so it all started there. I was born and raised in Santa Maria, California, which is an hour north of Santa Barbara. And that's how it started.
So there was music in your household?
All the time, because my mom comes from a big family, 9 brothers and sisters, two boys, 7 girls. And her younger brother plays piano. He's still alive, Hank. He plays piano and organ as well. But also growing up in Santa Maria, there was the Columbia record pressing plant. So we would get second pressings, third pressings, where the label's all messed up, or it spun out of round. So we would get those things for like a quarter or something. You could get like a stack of records for a quarter because they were misprints. But I was listening to James Brown, Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Stones, Led Zeppelin. I was listening to all this stuff at a really early age because my mom would bring home these records. Herbie Mann, Miles. So it was all because of my mom and my aunts working at the plant. They'd bring home these records. So I'd check it out, and my mom being a musician, it just made sense that this music was going in the house.
What great fate to have that happen to where you lived, to be able to have that kind of an influence. So what brought you to drums?
That just came naturally. My parents found me in the kitchen, the typical story, pots and pans.
Yeah.
I found the 2 wooden spoons in the drawer. I pulled out the pans, and it was all because of my 2 older brothers. They were teenagers or, preteen at the time when I was 3. So they were watching the music shows, and the cool show was obviously, American Bandstand, and there was a local show called Boss City, Midnight Special, all those. I'd always see this guy in the back doing this of the bands, and I just always took to that rhythm. But I'd always see his hands moving up and down, up and down. I thought, that's really cool. And so I emulated that by pulling out the pots and pans, and I just started doing that. But the plus of it was that I was actually doing it in time, and my mom heard it and said, wow, I think we have a drummer in the family, and so it begins.
What's amazing about it is those shows that you talked about, American Bandstand and these midnights, but these were shows that really featured bands, and every evening we were showcasing musicians all the time to hear these bands. That was a very important influence that television offered at that time. At that time,
because that was really the only place that you could capture live music.
Yeah.
Whether they were miming or whether they were playing live, it was the only place you could really capture, a group of musicians playing music. Yeah. And unlike now, where it's like you go to YouTube, you go to Instagram, you go anywhere you want and see music all the time, to the point where you're shutting down because it's so in your face and so many styles, so many genres, so many people doing
overwhelming.
it. It's overwhelming.
Yeah. So did you start taking lessons at that point? Was there when you started to get a little bit more fine-tuned with the craft?
You know, as I got older, I got my first drum kit at 5 years old. It was an old Ludwig Champagne Sparkle, 2012-14. Later, as a teenager, I traded it for a homemade guitar, but that's another story. I'm kicking myself to this day. Yeah, you know, it started out with getting my first drum set and just playing along with my mom. She'd play piano or B3 in the house, because we had a B3 in the house with a Leslie.
With a Leslie. Now, those that don't know what a Leslie is,
Leslie's a speaker cabinet.
That speaker would revolve and throw the sound around and fill the room up with the sound of this B3. What a great sound that was.
What a great sound.
Wow.
Now, if you could picture a little small Filipino lady playing B3 and kicking pedals, that's the visual.
Absolutely.
Dig that. So, you know, coming up doing that, and so she would show me different styles, you know, obviously jazz, you know, and bossa nova, and, you know, the stuff that she was playing in the clubs in the area. So I came up listening to all that stuff and playing, and, you know, coming up through grade school, you know, doing assemblies and performances with my mom at the school. So, you know, I was kind of the cool kid, you know, that played drums with his mom at the school, you know. And so, you know, people that know me, that I grew up with, know me as, you know, Curt that plays drums.
But you've always had a great feel. You have an incredible understanding of music. So that, was there, I mean, you had mentioned you went to MI. Was that a part of, when did your formal education begin at that time at MI? Was that where it started?
Yeah, you know, I didn't know how to read. And again, going back to the Columbia record pressing plant and being a young kid and growing up and reading the liner notes of these albums, I'd always read these names of the musicians that played on these records. Steve Gadd, Jeff Porcaro, Vinnie Colaiuta, John Robinson, Carlos Vega, and it was just on and on and on and on and on. All those names, all the great names we know and love. And I thought, what do these guys do? Why do they keep playing on these songs? But then there's 4 drummers and they're on the same record. It didn't make any sense until I got older and started understanding, oh, these guys are called session musicians. And as soon as I found out that term, I was like, that's what I want to be. Fast forward to graduating high school, I'm opening up my Modern Drummer magazine, and there's a picture of Joe Porcaro and Ralph Humphrey. Come to Musicians Institute and learn to play like the pros. I think that was the caption. And I thought, that's where I want to go. And at the time, I was working for Lucky Supermarkets, you know, full-time and gigging at night. And I thought, you know, I could continue in the grocery business, or I can, you know, roll the dice, move to Los Angeles, become a professional drummer. And so that was my excuse, was the school, MI, Musicians Institute. So I showed my mom, here's what I want to do. She's like, no, you're not. But you're a musician. Yes, but do you know how hard it is to be a famous musician and a successful one at that?
That's
and
mom,
how hard it is, and it's, you know the late hours I keep. And I was like, yeah, but that's all I know. You know, that's what I really know how to do. And she's like, well, you should go to college and learn a trade. So I started reading up on MI, and sure enough, to some degree, a trade school where you could learn a trade for a year. This was before they were actually offering degrees. So it was called a vocational school, I think, at the time. So I said, see, they teach you how to read music, which I wanted to do because I wanted to be a studio guy. And so she's like, all right, reluctantly. You know, she forbade me to go, but I twisted her arm enough, and I begged and pleaded enough, and I transferred with Lucky Supermarket down to the Santa Monica store and lived in Hollywood and went to school, and that's how I supported myself, you know, the first semester through school.
So what was your practicing schedule? Were you working out of books? You were working on reading? You were working on what specifics did you start to fine tune?
For me, it was reading. For me, because I didn't know a quarter note from an eighth note. As a matter of fact, I had to cram for the introductory test that they would give you before they would accept you to the school. You had to know what a quarter note was, eighth notes, triplets, and 16th notes. And I didn't know, so I hired a local drum teacher in Santa Maria, John Stinson. Hi, John. He taught me what these notes meant.
Fundamentals of reading. Beautiful.
Fundamentals of reading, but was really kind of a drag for me, and I don't know where the disconnect was, is that I played alto saxophone in marching band from 5th grade to 8th grade. And for some reason, I couldn't make the connection between the saxophone notes on the chart versus rhythmic notes. I don't know what was happening there.
Wow.
Just maybe I drew a blank because I hated saxophone so much that I just drew a blank. But then I had to re-educate myself on those simple, notes of drumming and rhythmic notation. So he got me through that, and I passed the test, obviously, and went to MI to learn how to read. And of course, with Joe and Ralph there, they were the principal instructors there. Then there was Casey Sherrill, Ed Rossetti.
Joe was there. Joe Brancato.
Joe Brancato was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Maria Martinez. Just some wonderful instructors. And they taught me how to read. And they taught the whole class how to read. And there were beginners, there were intermediate, there were advanced. But what was cool about that school and coming up in it was that we're all together as one. So if I was lagging on something, the guy that was from Switzerland, who already had the Swiss triplets down and read his what off, he was showing me, oh yeah, man, these are just simple triplets, and then it goes to the 16th notes. It's like, oh, okay. And so everyone helped each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, show me how to play that shuffle groove. Oh, okay. So there was a lot of exchange.
Yeah.
That was the primary aspect of my upcoming of learning music.
Well, I'd say having Joe Porcaro and Ralph Humphrey, these are two absolute masters of the craft at many levels. I've interviewed Joe Porcaro. I'll actually be interviewing Ralph tomorrow, and it's amazing to have the time of sitting down, like with yourself, to really hear these guys, Joe and Ralph, these guys are serious as players, as artists, as educators. It's really, really amazing.
It's truly amazing.
So where did your first break come in? So you come out of school, now you start working. Who you have played with is an incredible list of legendary players. How'd that start?
Well, I was going to MI. I started MI September '84. That was when the fall schedule started, and then you graduate in September '85. I left the school 2 weeks early because MI was located right in the dab smack center of Hollywood, right below the Wax Museum on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
So there was rumor flying around the school that Morris Day and the Time was auditioning drummers right down the street at SIR. And me being a Prince fan and the Time fan, I was like, I gotta go to this. Sure enough, I found out where the audition was happening, and there were 50 drummers there.
Serious cattle call now.
Serious cattle call. And some top cats were there, and there's little old me, the guy that's just finishing the last 2 weeks of MI to bare himself to the world after graduation. So I go there, and I'm the 50th drummer. I get there toward the end of the day because I still had classes to go to at MI. So I get there around 4 o'clock, and I'm standing in line. There's probably about 11 guys left. In front of me is this drummer. And to this day, I'm so guilty of this. There's this guy, he has one pair of sticks, and they're just chewed up. And I'm looking at sticks, and I go, I forgot my sticks. To this day, I forget my sticks, I swear. So I'm like, dude, when you're done auditioning, can I borrow your sticks? And he said, sure, go right ahead. When I'm done, I'll give you my sticks. And his are already chewed up. I'm like, God, I hope they don't break while they play. So there I am, standing in line, cattle call, no drumsticks, and I'm auditioning for Morris Day. So he does his audition. He walks out of the door and hands me the sticks. And I walk into SIR, and it's dark in there, and it's just his musical director, Ricky Freeze-Smith, and he's just playing a keyboard. And there's Morris in the back couch with his sunglasses on. And he says, okay, so you're the last drummer. What's your name? I said, Curt Bisquera. KIRKEE B. All right. We're auditioning to the song The Bird. Do you know The Bird? And I said, of course, everyone knows The Bird, and he sort of chuckled. And then so I played The Bird, and it was a big song that was in the movie Purple Rain with Prince. Right. It was one of the featured songs in the movie. So I played that down, and I see him with his sunglasses on, and I see his head bobbing side to side like that. And I thought, okay, well, he's either hating this or he's grooving or whatever. I had to not really look at him because I was nervous. So I played that. He said, okay, we got another song. It's called Jungle Love. Do you know Jungle Love? And I said, yeah, I know Jungle Love. So we played, oh, Jungle Love, Jungle Love. the dance, where he slides and does that whole thing with Jerome holding the mirror. So I play that song. And I see his head doing that again. And then so he goes, well, do you know any other of my songs? And I said, I do. And he goes, what songs do you know? I said, I know 777-9311. And he got up on the edge of his seat and he said, you know 7/7? I said, yeah, I do. So the keyboard player, the musical director, kicked it off. And I started playing that beat. I don't know if you know this song, but it has a really intricate Lindrum pattern that Prince and Morris use for the song.
Interesting.
And it has a really syncopated hi-hat with a offbeat snare and a syncopated kick drum pattern, which I believe was programmed by the great David Garibaldi for Roger Lynn to demo on his
the Lindrum machine.
The Lindrum, the first Lindrum, the LM1. So don't mark my words on that, kids, but I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So they use that as the groove for the song. So as a senior in high school, I learned it. So fast forward to the audition with Morris, I start playing it, and the keyboard player, he starts playing, I see his head doing that, and then I see Morris, and he has his sunglasses on, and he's looking at me like this, and his head's going back and forth, and we end the tune, and he gets up on the edge of his chair and goes, KIRKEE, you want a job? And I said, yes, because he was known to go, what time is it? Yes. So I said, yes, I'd love a job. And he goes, you're hired. So there I was.
Number 50 on the
number
cattle
50
call.
on the cattle call. I got the gig with Morris Day and the Time. I ran back to the school, and I told Joe P., I told Ralph, I told all my instructors, I just got the gig with Morris Day and the Time. And they're like, congratulations. But you have to finish school. And I'm like, well, rehearsals start next week. So I go to my counselor, Maria Martinez. She was counseling me. There was counselors that you go to.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I have 2 more weeks to go here, but I just got the gig with Morris Day. And if I stay, I'll miss the first week of rehearsals. And she goes, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I was like, no. She goes, we're doing your test right now. So we did the test. I had to do a percussion test. I had to do reading, sight reading. I had to do all these tests, styles, Latin, jazz, funk, fusion, odd meter. So I went through the test. She's like, okay, check. Okay, get out of here. This is why you moved to Hollywood, was to do what you just did.
Right.
You auditioned for Morris Day and you got the gig. Go. And she set me free like a bird, and I'll never forget you, Maria, for that. And it was the beginning of the rest of my life.
How wonderful.
And it was the dream, we all dream of moving to Hollywood and getting discovered at the malt shop.
Absolutely.
Like Marilyn Monroe.
Absolutely.
And you become that star. And that happened to me, a kid from Santa Maria who moved to Los Angeles to go to music school and hopefully play with some great players. But I sidestepped that. I went directly to school. I learned how to read, auditioned for Morris Day and the Time, and got the gig. And at 19, I'm on the road. Yeah,
what a high that must have been. But what's amazing is that there was a lot of preparation. You were prepared musically now with reading and what you went to school at MI, and of course under the tutorage of Joe Porcaro and Ralph Humphrey. That was incredible. But you also listened to a lot of the tunes, and you had really good reference of songs, that you knew the songs when you went to the audition. That really is huge, that you had that much preparation.
Absolutely, because today's kids are coming up watching, and it's more visual.
Right.
Back when I was coming, it was all about the audible. It's like, what's that? What's he doing? What's he playing? How's that eighth note shuffly feel on the right hand? Right. Let me get the needle off the vinyl and rewind it.
Absolutely.
Meaning rewind, getting your thumb and moving the needle back to that part.
Like a half an inch just to get the...
A half an inch, and it's gray there because I keep playing it over and over again.
You wore it down.
That piece of vinyl's gray, right? So those circumstances of listening to music and rewinding and moving the needle to listen to that part, it was all about the audible, about listening to what was happening. Growing up playing with my mom, okay, this song's a rumba, this song's a samba, so I had to learn
different feels and different styles.
Different feels and different styles. And so she'd say, well, check out Brazil 66, check out, these records
Yeah.
that she would get from the Columbia.
How
record
amazing. And all
pressing
Sergio Mendes tunes when they came
yeah,
out. That was a
Sergio
very different influence to
Yes.
be aware of that when they first came out.
Yes.
Well, your mom was brilliant. That was just
Yeah, and
fantastic.
she instilled me with all these different styles, you know. And she sang. So I was getting double, triple training of,
Yeah.
you know, people say, oh, KIRKEE B, you got the groove. Man, if you would have heard my mom play, that was the groove. So she taught me groove, she taught me styles of music, and she taught me how to play behind a singer, all in one.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why playing with Elton John, Sarah McLachlan, you know, all the great singers I've backed up through my career, both touring and recording, I feel that I have a leg up on it because I listen to the lyrics and melody first.
Yeah.
Forget the bass line, forget what the keyboard guy's doing.
Yeah.
What are they saying? What's the story? What's the feeling behind what they're trying to disseminate
Boy,
to
that's such a deep understanding of music. Liberty DeVito, who I've interviewed many times, the same thing. And he's
Come
a
on.
songwriter's drummer because you
The
guys have
piano
a
man.
skill to go there and feel what the song is about, get the lyric down, and then find out what you think you can add to really support those lyrics. That's
Right.
incredible. But you've always had that skill. So your background, your upbringing, all was a part of the process. So now you're starting to work with these different acts, and you're starting to now, you're a session guy now. You're doing the recordings. The business side. How did you organize yourself? Did you have a book that you kept? How did you keep yourself scheduling all this stuff?
Back in those times in the 80s, it was all about the organizer. So I'd go to the bookstore and get the organizer.
Fold it up. You had all the
Right. So it
information.
had a calendar, had your daily thing that you'd write in.
Yeah.
Not an iPhone.
Yeah.
So I'd write down cats' names that I would meet at the club sitting in, or because there was a lot of sitting in. I've done my touring with Morris, and then after Morris, I toured with Shalimar, and then after Shalimar, it was Pebbles, and then so I was doing a lot of R&B and funk tours, and I was doing a lot of gigging at clubs in LA around the area. So you'd meet different cats, and I'd take their number down, and of course, they, back then it was always about live performance. So there were a lot of agencies that hired wedding bands. There were a lot of clubs at the time that provided live bands and live music.
Wow.
So, I was playing the clubs just like how I was growing up with my mom in the Central Coast area of California, playing clubs. So doing that here now in LA. And so it was a networking of people. And I forgot who told me this, and it was the best piece of advice. He said, I know you're moving to LA. Whatever you do, don't go out to meet other drummers. I go, what do you mean? He goes, don't meet those guys. Those are the guys that are going after the same gig that you're trying to get. He goes, go meet singer-songwriters, go meet keyboard players, guitar players, bass players, booking agents. Go meet those guys, because those are the guys that need you, not another drummer. And I thought, well, man, that's kind of cold. He goes, no, he goes, the drumming community in LA is so tight. He goes, you're going to fall in perfectly.
You them anyway, yeah.
Which I did. They're all my drum bros, and I love them dearly. And we all hang out together. We all break bread.
Yeah.
But he was right. Other drummers didn't hire me unless, for instance, if they couldn't make something, then they would call me to sub for them. That's, obviously that's what happens.
Yeah.
But in terms of work, in terms of getting other sessions, other live gigs, it was all about meeting the musical director or the guitar player or the singer, and they would say, hey, are you available next weekend? Why, what's going on? Well, do you have a tux? No, but I could rent one. Okay, we have $1,000 gig for you playing this wedding for 2 hours. Can you do it? Heck yeah, I could do it. Go to the tux shop, rent me a $60 tux, the patent leather shoes, and away I go, That's how it went down. That's how the networking happened. And it was all about networking and going out, sitting in, meeting other musicians. Versus now, it's all about the iPhone. Absolutely. And I get on my iPhone and I check out Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever. And I'm on there and I'm checking out, okay, that guy's cool. Oh, she could sing. And I call it the YouTube universe. As you know, you can go on YouTube and get lost. That place, and you could get caught up in just viewing videos of people. And it's removed. You're removed. And you're in your robe, you're in your bed, you're on your couch.
Right.
And there's no participation.
Right.
And more than ever, we need to participate.
So that balance of doing the research and participation has got to be equally
Absolutely.
moving forward to learn. Interesting. It's a great point.
And participating with others that are better than you. Because that's how you get better.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to get to the level that I'm at and the level that I'm comfortable at, is that playing with great musicians that teach me something that are really hard on me musically, as well as harmonically, rhythmically, spiritually, everything. Everything that they have to offer, I'm just absorbing like a sponge. What do I need to know about this situation that I'm in right now? I can't play a ballad to save my life. Okay, I need to go listen to some ballads. So I would go do that and come back prepared. How does so-and-so, how does Ed Thigpen hold his brushes? Okay, let me try that. Oh, that feels comfortable. How does Clayton Cameron hold his brushes? Okay, that feels comfortable. Oh, he's not scrubbing it like dishes. He's actually feathering it. There's this technique. And so I'm armed with these things that I need to come back to the table to deliver the goods, that I'm hired for.
But look at the research that you've done, even mentioning Ed Thigpen. God rest his soul. What a beautiful man. I had a chance to sit down with him many, many times. And Clayton, these are brilliant artists with brushes. And although we don't use brushes as much now in this newer generation, having the knowledge of that, just in case you need it, or if you might hear a song that you might think would fit, you have to. So you did that research. You pushed yourself to meet these guys, learn this material, and practice it. That's self-motivation at its best.
Right, and I remember, coming up, always talking to Joe Porcaro about, studio work. Hey, Joe P., I got this big band date coming up. How should I prepare? And he'd always say, brush up on your reading, brush up on your swing time, don't rush, because, the horn players are going to lay back. He would tell me all these tips, priceless tips. And right next to him is Emil Richards telling me the same thing. Don't be late. He'd always say, don't be late. If you're on time, you're already too late. So I get there early. I'm always the first guy. I've always been the first guy. And Jeff Porcaro is always the same way. He's like, yeah, man, whatever you do, make sure you show up early because you don't know what the cat's going to lay on you.
Right.
Every time he was right. Whenever I'd show up for a movie date or a big band date or some sort of session where it required 8 sheets of chart, where you need 2 or 3 music stands, and they lay it on you, and you're seeing it for the first time, you want to get a leg up on it. And thank God I was told to show up at the studio early, so I would see the conductor or the music director or the producer and say, can I take a peep at the music? Oh yeah, sure. And you'd raffle through, find the drum chart, I'd look at it. Whew, okay. Bar 57 has that bar of 7 in it, and then it goes to 3/4, then it goes to 3/8, back into 4/4 swing time. Whoa! Had I been reading that for the first time, I'm not Vinny. I'm not those guys that could just go, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's pigeon language. Oh, okay, yeah, I could do that.
Nobody's Vinny.
Yeah,
other than Vinny.
Right. So being able to look at it before all the horn players get there, the string players, it's like, okay. So now I'm on my game. So it's always good to show up early.
But how smart that is! Listen, these are business skills and artistic skills that you kind of mesh together to produce the incredible career you're having. So this is incredible. In closing, now we have, think about this next generation. These young kids are out there, they're watching this interview and they're following your career, they're influenced by the hundreds of albums that you've played on and what you've done. What would you say to this next generation to prepare them for the work they need to do in today's time?
First of all, I would say invest your money in precious metals, gold and silver. Bitcoin, that seems to be a big one these days with blockchain technology. That's happening right now. In today's world, because it's ever changing, it's ever at the speed of light, it seems like, we're able to make records on our iPhone right now, in this moment.
Right.
But who knows 3 to 5 years from now, 5 to 10 years from now, what's going to be happening? My one and only thing I could say to the up-and-comers is that learn the technology. Be on top of it. Learn it. If you don't know it, dabble in it. Dip your toe in it. Just touch it.
Right.
Look at it. Talk to other people that may know the technology, because that's the stuff that's going to continue no matter what.
Right.
through your drumming, through your bass playing, through your keyboard playing, guitar playing, this technology is going to happen. And it's going to happen with or without you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know a lot of drummers that are behind on the technology and they suffer from it. And I'm always willing, hey man, come on over. I'll show you how to work Pro Tools. I'll show you how to mic up a kick drum. You know, I pat myself in the back about it because I would always show up early to sessions and ask Al Schmidt, what is that mic and where does it go to? Oh, well, that's a D112 and that goes to this mic pre called a Neve 1073 and it goes into this SSL console and I was like, oh, okay, so that's what they call the signal chain and the mic chain and all that stuff. And yeah. So I would ask the best of the best what it was.
Fantastic.
So by the time I got to where I'm at now, I could mic up my kit. I know how to do it. But I would tell the kids, learn how to mic your drums. Learn how to get a good guitar sound, a bass sound. Learn how to record yourself. Learn how to acclimate to the technology that's happening around you. You know, I could go back 5 years and go, the technology that was happening then is no longer.
Absolutely.
I could go back 2 years and that's no longer.
Absolutely.
So it is happening. It is happening. So stay on top of it. It could be pricey.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to keep up with all the
newer stuff. Yeah,
newer stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, try to go to music stores, try to talk to product specialists and just at least get the knowledge about it, you know. And it's kind of the new way I like to look at it as reading books, you know. And if your subject is learning how to get through the music industry the way it is now, I would say technology is the way to go, you know. Learning how to edit your own videos. I mean, you could go on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and see all these wonderful new young players coming up that are filming themselves.
Interesting. So having control over technology, studying the craft, continuously doing the research, listening to a wide variety of music,
Absolutely.
knowing all different styles like your mom taught you,
Absolutely.
and having that level of an open mind is really what has made you, Curt, at the top of your game all these years. And you continue to do this, which is powerful.
Well, you know, luckily I surround myself with good people. You know, that saying, if you want to know how you're doing, see who you're hanging out with.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging with good company.
Well, on behalf of the sessions, we thank you so much, Curt.
Thank
you. Have
you.
really been, I go back to that first time when Jeff Porcaro mentioned your name.
Oh, man.
And again, he was right.
Well,
Thank you
miss
so
him
much.
dearly, and thank you so much. And thank you, Sessions, for having me. And what an honor and pleasure.
Keep going.
Oh, man, I will. All right, Dom. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Curt.
All righty.